What's up, everybody? We are at Mike Spinner's beautiful Florida estate. We've been drinking wine that I can't afford all day, and we're going to talk about the first ever 1080.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. How old are you now?
33.
So you've been retired from competition BMX for quite some time.
It feels like 10 years.
You have a son, you've been married, you have a very successful company. Where does doing the first 1080 in BMX rank amongst your life's accomplishments?
Ooh, that's good.
And be careful how you answer that, because she'll probably watch.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Did you have that prepped? I think the 1080 could be the reason we're here right now. I think that trick, even though I did like other firsts, like the 7 whip and the 3 triple whip, but the 1080, I think, and I feel was the first trick I did that solidified, like, oh, he's not just the 7 whip guy or the 3 triple whip. Like, it was like, oh, he did like that extra revolution trick. And I think that was when I got Brad Lusky an agent. Like, that was like, I think it was possible that he was gonna work with me, but that was like New Zealand. I got second place at a contest under Dave Mira, and then I pulled the first 1080, so I won the best trick contest. And getting second place to Dave Mira is like first place.
Well, and to be completely fair, when you go to contests, we've both been to a lot of them, somebody wins the contest and somebody wins the weekend.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I definitely had the, yeah. So.
And you won that contest. Maybe you weren't top spot on the podium, but all these years later, winning that one contest in New Zealand isn't something we talk about when we talk about Dave Mira.
Yeah, it might have been, for me, and it's not justifying, I think the contest is more special because he won.
I wouldn't remember that contest existed if you didn't do the first 1080 at it.
I wouldn't still talk about it. I still wouldn't. Yeah, and it was a hard box jump too to do it on. It probably was the hardest box jump I could have done it on.
So let's backpedal a little bit.
Okay.
So early on in your career, you were kind of the techie dude.
Yeah.
And you kind of started doing stuff on bigger ramps, and then you kind of unlocked some of these possibilities because you had the technical bike control and whatnot.
Yes.
How long was it from the time you first did a legitimate 720 over a real box jump to the time you did a 1080 over a real box jump?
Basically, when I finally was able to do box jump tricks on the big box jump ramp, because I built up my courage to go really fast at a quarter pipe, go fast at a box jump, and not just do the trick faster because I'm so scared to go high in the air that I would just do it a lot faster low on the ground. That when I gained that courage to go faster on real big ramps, I think I did, like, the 7 whip was like in the foam pit. It might have been first try in the foam pit. I did it, and I remember, whoa, and I was like, oh. And then I still was too scared to do it for like 2 or 3 months. And then, and then when I went for it, I pulled it, To your question, when I got to Woodward Camp and did a 720 on a real box jump for the first time ever, it was probably 2006 in summertime in July. No, in like June. And in 3 months, that was my first time doing a real 720 on a real box jump, lot 8. Was a real first time ever at doing a real box jump 720, and I did a 7 whip 2 months later, and then 1 year later, in February, not even that long later, I did the 1080 in New Zealand. So yeah, 8 months.
See, I didn't realize it was that fast, but I thought it was fast just from following your career. Now, you and I grew up as BMX nerds.
Yes.
We're basically the same age, you and I. Do you recall, because I remember watching it vividly, Ryan Nyquist battled through the first 1080.
Yes.
We were both pretty young, and it looked like he was going to do it. I believe it was drop the hammer. It all builds up to his last trick, and it was 7 double bar. I remember watching it, thinking it was going to be a 1080.
Yes. I remember.
So, did that intimidate you at all, seeing an icon like Nyquist's journey, and all of a sudden this trick's kind of falling in your lap, and you did it 7 months after doing a 720?
Yeah. So when it got in my head about I went forward in like the foam pit, did the 1080, and I started spinning around doing it. I had to not tell myself this is a first time ever, because then you start to almost like get scared, like why hasn't anyone done it? So you start to like get in your own head. So I think all the times I've ever done, like the first time I ever did a trick, I have this like, even today in business too, I have this like outer body like way of thinking about things where I'm watching myself do it, and I'm thinking about it over and over and over. And I think I get into this weird mode where like I drop in on the ramp, and I just, as I'm going to the ramp, I'm fully committed, but I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. Because if you think about it, oh my gosh, Ryan Nyquist, and he had trouble doing it. Why can you do it? So you can't get that in your head at all, you know? You can't. Or or the 7 whip. I remember having guys at Woodward, without naming names, they straight up didn't want me to do it. Like, straight up.
Because they failed at it, or because you were competing against them?
I was competing against them. So like they straight up didn't want me to do it, and they told me, the way you're doing it's not going to happen, not possible. I've tried it. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't even do 720s well. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like,
you're in New Zealand. I could ask you the story about how it happened, but I feel like I've heard you say it a million times.
Yeah.
Dave did the air traffic controller. He's like, if I do it, you got to do the 1080.
Yeah, we like had to do it.
Cool. You did it. Dave's psyched. You're psyched.
Yes.
Kind of kicks off your career and whatnot. Now, shortly after that, your career kind of kicked into the next gear.
Yep.
And you were kind of no stranger to drama early in your career. You said a lot of dumb shit.
Yep. Yeah.
We all did.
I said a lot of dumb stuff.
And now,
but I was meaning it as goofy, like funny, and I'm the same person today, right?
You absolutely
can vouch
are.
for that,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just messing around.
But what I'm getting at here is when you really unlock that trick, and you were the kid that said the dumb stuff, that kind of had to open a lot of doors for people to really dislike you.
Yeah,
you took that trick. You took that accolade. Nobody can ever take that from you, they didn't want you to do it because you're the dumb, goofy kid.
Yes, I don't know how to answer that. It's more like a statement you're saying.
Well, my question is, how was that for you? Because I assume shortly after this, a lot of dudes probably were gunning for you and didn't want to see you do well.
Yeah, no, they definitely had a lot of guys at Woodward camp getting in my head. Like, not getting in my head. They were like straight up, like, I remember Dutour was going to give me a wild card spot, possibly.
Meaning you would be in an actual, without qualifying in through their process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically in the 2006, when I like did the 7 whip, I hit my head. Remember?
Free flow?
Free flow. Then I qualified first at the first pro contest at the Orlando Dew Tour. And if I would have did top 3, I would have then had the points where they would roll me into the next year, and that would have been fair and correct. But they were definitely, there was guys that were straight up, like almost like, they better, like telling me they better not just give it to you. Like they better not, like it was kind of like messed up. Like they were definitely like, I understand why. And they're like, and if you mess that up, well, there you go. And you're getting all these sponsors, and you're not even in the Dew Tour then.
Do you think guys didn't want you to get that spot in Dew Tour because they didn't think you had earned it, or because it was a jealous thing?
Jealous, straight up.
And you can confidently say that all these years removed.
Yeah.
So did that fuel you in any way to want to win more?
No.
Or were you just...
Not at all. No, that's not ever motivation. Never used revenge or never. Today, never. That's not my way. That's not the way I operate. It did make me work hard or anything like that, but it was definitely no, that never fuels my fire. I'd say the only time I would ever get I would get emotionally driven by like riding a different way emotionally. The only way I would ride at a contest differently from emotions is if people are doing such cool shit before me that actually will just fire me up. Where if I would have had a safety run, I'm just going to go straight and do the better run in the first run instead. So I only get motivated on positive. I don't get motivated from like oh, they're freaking me out, I'm going to work harder. No, I do whatever I want. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I ride. Yeah.
In your competition prime, when you had been riding the most healthy, could you pull every 1080?
Yeah. Every 1080. Yeah. Everyone.
That's not what I expected.
Everyone. Yeah.
Did you ever hit a point in your career when you felt like that was dwindling towards the end, or not until you really kind of walked away?
It was dwindling for sure. I felt it. The knee injury got in my head where it was just it was not fun, right? Like that, like the knee thing where you're going up the ramp and you're like, wait, you need your knees, you know? But yeah, that to go on to the tricks, like the 1080 was, I did this, the half kind of like, what do you call flexing, right? I would get to the animal house and I was like, to put years on things, 2008, and everyone's warming up or they're there an hour. I would drop him. I'd go straight to the box jump, triple whip, 1080. And I would just instantly I'm holding my ground. Like this is what I do in my first trick. That's what I was doing, you know?
So who was the second person that you ever saw do a 1080?
It was Gutler or Mira. It was either Ryan Gutler or Dave Mira. Should I say how? Like how it went down, or what?
What happened? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, that sucked. I won the Dew Tour because I pulled the 1080 in the middle of the run, right? Which is like the dream situation. And I win the contest. It was awesome. A week later, and the contest high. You get the contest high, right? First contest I ever won. And it's like, and I'm not like, it feels really good. And then I pull up to the warehouse, Dave Mira's warehouse, and literally, Spinner's here. Like it's like a what's about to happen? And Mira does 1080 on the resi, first try. Gutler did it first or second try. I'm like, cool, I feel this small right now. I just won the contest by doing basically this trick, other tricks, obviously, and then, that happens, But the cool thing about the 1080, just like the 720 tail whip, not 720, when I do, the other variations I used to do, those are all safe variations. I could literally do those tired, out of breath, like a 7 turn down, X up, whatever. No matter if you like my turn downs or not. I beat you too. The 1080 and the 7 whip, is that?
No, you're good. Yeah.
The 7 whip and the 1080 are not consistent tricks, okay? They're not. There's something about them that's not consistent. It's just there's so many variables. There's so many ways. And so at contests, both Mira and Gutler had issues pulling them. And then when I got second place at my first big contest of the year, going for firsts, I did the 7 whip at the first stop of the Dew Tour where I had to qualify. So I had to qualify. I get in, not the best, because the problem with how I ride, and for a contest, the problem how I ride is the tricks I do are either, to me at least, they're either subpar for pros, or they're like the podium tricks. So I never had safety runs, which wasn't good. So when I would actually have to do prelims, that year that they let you skip?
Yep.
That was awesome for me because I got to go straight into quad whip and 1080. But in prelims, a quad whip's a triple whip and a 1080 is a 7 turn down the X up. So that's not the best trick. So it's weird that I'm subpar pro contest rider or podium. I don't have tricks that are really good for, let me just get 6th place, 7th place. Does that make sense? Like,
It does.
yeah, but that brings up the gnarly, like the you can make a mistake and not be in the finals.
So who was the first person that did a 720, or excuse me, who was the first person that did a 1080 against you in a contest? You were riding a contest and somebody else did a 1080. That has to have happened.
Hold on.
And pulled it.
Do you know this answer?
Nope.
Well, hold on. I'm normally good with this stuff. Hold on.
I assume this was a bigger deal for you than it was for me, so I'd like to think you would remember it.
You know what?
Did it never happen?
I don't think it happened. It's never happened. I would have remembered. Yeah. I would have remembered this. Never happened.
That's honestly pretty crazy.
And it gets better. There's a few. All right, so 7 whip. Can I say this is cool, right?
Absolutely.
7 whip. Right after I got 2nd place at this other contest, which was 2 stops before the one I won for the 1080. I did the 7 whip at the first stop of the Dew Tour and got 2nd place. So Daniel's mission is to pull the 7 whip to basically like stop me. Because he was great at everything else. And he at this time, this will be funny, right? This is a good one. And this will piss Dares off a little. He was amazing at everything but the box jump. And that was the only thing, that was like the last trick. He just needed a box jump banger to just guarantee stop me. So he learns the 7 whip. And I am stressing it. I'm like, oh man, because that like takes the cool and power away, right? And I remember saying this, and it's a comment that's kind of messed up. And I said, hey man, it's not a consistent trick. This one is not a consistent trick. 7 whips are dangerous. I'm telling you. And it's a term that I got from Van Homan. I told Van about this. The way, you know, the style Van Homan has for contest, him and I talked about this. The style he has is not a consistent style. So for BMX contests, he's either loving the course or the tricks he's gonna do in a contest a while back are like either it's gonna all hit or not. Inconsistent style is when you have certain tricks that are, you know, they're awesome, but it's not guarantees. You know what I mean? Like you can't hit it every time. So some of my box jump tricks were like that, where, you know, you can't hit them every time. And the 7 whip is just all timing. And I remember telling Daniel that, but it was definitely not like he's looking at me like, yeah, sure. And at one of the Salt Lake Dew Tour, Daniel has 7 whips dialed. Guler's doing 1080s. Mirror's doing 1080. They all fall on him. I mean, let's be real. It couldn't have helped my, this isn't easy. And it's all 3. These are the best dudes winning contests, right? And they all fall on all 3.
It solidified anybody's opinion who would say, no, Spinner does the hardest stuff. Like, no, wait and see. Then it's like, oh, he must really do the hardest stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Craig Mast at Portland Dew Tour when I was, I was doing the first quad whip. I remember a contest. This was fun. Same all the first contest stuff. I was doing. Craig Mast was doing triple whips, like a lot, and then Anderson, when he does stuff, he did a big triple whip at like the Portland Dew Tour, and then so this is to go along with the motivation. Anderson did a triple whip, and the way Dennis rides, he's great at the whole course, but for my run, I can't. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be good at is the box jump tricks, right? So he did the triple whip in his first run before me. And then Craig Mast goes for the quad whip. Totally eats shit. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing this quad right now. And I am fired up about it. I'm pumped because Dennis just did the triple. So I'm supposed to do the better box jump tricks than him, at the time, right? Please don't edit this like bad, you know what I'm saying? But Craig totally 3.5. Death. I don't know. I'll say, I don't know how some of these guys, when they do go for tricks, we have all these training facilities, right? We have like foam pit, resi, and at the contest, all these guys would be like, I'm going for it. I'm like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? We are at Woodward, Mirror, or Nyquist's warehouses with foam pits and resis. What are you doing?
Now is not the time to gamble.
To go for it. No, to go for it. You could get killed. You could get so hurt. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it. I'm like, I have no idea what you're thinking in your mind, but I could listen to Beethoven and do my quad whip. I'm good, like.
So now it's 2021. The world's changed drastically. A handful of guys do the 1080. Honestly, you don't see it every day. It's still a big deal when somebody does it, but a handful of guys do it, can do it, have done it. From what you've seen, who does it the best and who's done the most impressive things with it?
In contest, the only person I'm seeing do it mid-run, like mid-run is in like doing it in a contest, is Brandon. But I know Logan. So Brandon and Logan, I think, are the ones that definitely do the 1080 the best. I know Logan did 1080 bar a while back, but I never saw. I don't even think I actually seen it, but I heard about it. I'd say just them. I think they're the only ones that like can do it in the run. But I've only seen Brandon do it in the contest.
What do you attribute that to? Is it just that hard and that inconsistent of a trick?
It's inconsistent. It's an inconsistent trick. And if you're not comfortable with the box jump or you're just not flowing good, some people call it a huck trick, but I don't think it's a huck trick. It's like all like a smooth motion, it's just inconsistent. Yeah, that's.
Did you ever consider the 1440, and why do you think that hasn't happened yet?
I think I tried it once or twice. I would have, when I was going at it, I tried the 1080 whip like a bunch of times in the foam, and then I think I tried the 1440 literally a few times, but like doing more whips where you just do this and you're looking straight and you know where you are is much more possible than I think that fourth rotation, it is possible. Someone will do it. But it just keeps going more and more inconsistent, right? Like where the quad whip, you're straight and you're doing four rotations of the bicycle.
So are you surprised the 1440 hasn't happened?
Nah, that's hard. Yeah, but it's kind of getting done on mega ramp, right? Yep. Not straight, but like in the rotation axis, right?
Yep.
So that means it's possible. And if it's possible, you could almost like it could start to go backwards then. And like they could go on the smaller ramps. It's just weird how that works, right?
Yeah.
You know?
No, it makes sense. I mean, I've seen David Godziak do the twister.
Yeah.
Guys are doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, I hope people were understanding when I asked that. I meant kind of a traditional 1440. The same way you did it.
I know exactly what you're saying. And Brian Williams just did this 1080 whip on, that was sick. So it's possible. It's possible. It will be done.
When you look at BMX as a whole right now, a lot of things have happened in the past few years. Your style of riding is now a part of the UCI. It's going in the Olympics and whatnot. You've long since moved on to other things.
Yeah, that's true.
You've long since moved on to other things. Some of your peers are still out there competing. Do you really miss it, or are you good?
I'm good, and I love watching it, and it's really cool. Like I feel like I'm the coolest I've ever been with the BMX community, which definitely sucks, but I get it. It's when you're in it, you're technically beating someone, you're taking someone else's spot on the podium or a sponsorship, but now seeing it, oh man, well, and it's very fun to, I wonder, if it's fun, I think, and it's great because now I have another business. So I'm like, yeah, I want everyone to do as good as possible. We're not competing. I support this. And, the friends, like Daniel, who is going to be in the Olympics, like, man, I'm so pumped for him, and it's cool because we had the rivalry a while back and now we're friends, but we're not competing. So like, he's a competitive person. That's why he's done right?
Absolutely.
What he does, yeah.
Without getting too deep into your business, you started a company, grew it quite large, sports nutrition. started basically in the office next to your skate park, back when you had the skate park in the backyard, and now you can buy the products in Walmart. You can buy, large on Amazon. The company's very successful, and you've done an awesome job building that. Do you attribute any of those business things to the same ideals that helped you do 1080s, 720s?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Same mentality?
Same mentality. Yeah. You set out for what your goal is and what you're going to do and accomplish, and you don't leave until it's done, or you don't go to bed until it's done, and you don't, it's not all fun and games, right? But yeah, it's the same winning attitude, right? It's the same like if I tell myself I'm going to do this trick, I'm doing the trick. And so or I'm gonna get hurt trying, in business, it's the same dedication level, but instead it's safer. And if you got to get something done, you just do not leave the computer until you are done, or whatever setting that is. You do not leave. Like, it's very simple. Like, it's pretty simple.
Full commitment.
You do not leave. Yeah, like you don't. Yeah, that's all. So it's cool because I know every BMX guy, every action sports guy, we talked about this, is capable of creating a successful business. They are. They just have the winning mindset, But it could also be negative too, because you think maybe at that time you're so awesome that you're still riding the coattails of, when you were a BMXer a long time ago. Where now, today, like when we're doing business with someone from a vendor or a customer, they'll find out maybe about my BMX background later. Because I don't want to confuse anyone. I don't want to be like, they're like, tell me about yourself. And I just tell them straight up our business. So I don't go into, I was a pro BMX rider, I did this. Like, if we work together, they're going to find out later, like, what do you, I looked your name up just, like a lot of people do before you like meet someone at a business meeting or something. And they're like, can you tell me about the BMX firm? I'm like, oh yeah, but.
It doesn't define you.
No. It's pretty cool. Yeah.